They are not building buildings for people to live in. They are building structures that absorb the private investment money from Chinese workers. They're designed to be ghost cities. And they're very, very, very eerie. Now, this has been going on for some time, and you would think that over time, people would start to sort of catch on to this whole thing. Well, it turns out the Chinese people are starting to catch on to it. They don't like it very much. They realize that their life savings have been taken by corrupt, gigantic construction companies, and Chinese government owns many of these, so they're not about to do anything about it. And so the Chinese have begun to protest, and that's not an easy thing to do in China. But slowly, the outrage is growing to the point where some small protests are in fact actually happening. Now, in China, by the way, in order to travel, you have an internal passport. It's a QR code. Now, according to this video, your QR code is green if you've shown yourself to be COVID negative, but it's red if you're COVID positive. And if you're COVID positive, that red QR code means you don't get on a plane, you don't get on a train, you don't get on a bus. You're not allowed to leave your apartment complex. So you can only imagine the surprise on the part of the protesters who did manage to come down and actually protest this gigantic fraud when they discovered in the next day or two that all of their green QR codes had suddenly gone red overnight. That'll show them. We know that Hunter Biden has had numerous contacts throughout China, and that 10% of all the money he makes goes to the big guy. So there's that. And it just kind of makes me, as a regular American citizen, wonder. It makes me wonder why the President of the United States ends up getting money from people like this. I believe I would turn that down. In fact, I'm quite sure I would turn it down. And when you've decided that you're going to turn down money like that because you feel that it's detrimental to your country, detrimental to your society, essentially helping the people who are trying to destroy you, when you've made the decision that you're going to turn that money down, then it doesn't really matter how much money they offer you. I can tell you with confidence that people from Ant Company in China could offer me several $billion. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You don't have to believe me if you don't want to, but most of you do because you're built the same way I am. I'd turn it down. Because taking money from people who are trying to destroy your country, taking money from the people who have set up the mechanism to punish regular, hardworking Chinese citizens who are complaining about their entire life savings being stolen by the government and these corrupt large businesses. Taking money from those people in order to influence your own country in a negative way, in order to make them more subservient to the people who are paying you. Wow. I mean, taking money from a foreign power in order to damage or destroy the United States. You'd think there'd be a word for that kind of thing. As you undoubtedly know by now, a bill is in the process of becoming law that will authorize 87,000 new IRS agents. That bill authorizing 87,000 new IRS agents tells us that they are addicted to spending, that their greed and their corruption knows no limits, that we need another 87,000 people to assume that every single member of the citizenry of this republic is a criminal and investigate them, making sure that that they're towing the line. The hiring of that many IRS agents, which would make them 6 times more numerous than Border Patrol, which is allowing 2,000 illegal immigrants a month into the country now, I think. Did I say 2,000? I'm sorry, I meant to say 2 million. That tells you not only that their all-consuming addiction for spending other people's money is not abating, but rather growing. It also tells you that they assume that every single American citizen is cheating and dishonest, because what else would they think when they're cheating and dishonest people? And that's alarming enough. But when you find out that the job description says that 87,000 people, one of the requirements would be that you might have to be willing to carry a firearm and be available on 24-hour notice and be willing to use deadly force. I didn't invent this, folks. This is not me speculating. This is in the Department of Treasury list of requirements for these new agents. That's telling me that these people are not just greedy, that this is, in fact, a private governmental army, and that the reason they chose the IRS is fundamentally because the IRS comes with the kind of intimidation factor that the black uniforms and the skulls on the peaked caps used to provide, that people are already afraid of the IRS, and the idea that the IRS might be armed is something that they think might have a big effect on us. But that's blowing up in their face too, because as I said, they're very, very evil, but they're not very smart. I hope and believe that this 87,000 person private army launched against the American people will go the same way as the Ministry of Truth that they tried to institute several months ago. But if it doesn't, we'll be ready for that too. All of this tells us that we are dealing with people who have the levers of government and are at war with the citizens of this country. We didn't declare this war. This isn't an insurrection. This is a defensive action. We are being assaulted on a daily basis. And the main reason that you raid a billionaire former president's home and go fishing for something to catch him with, main reason for that is to let every single one of us know that if we can do that to him, we can do that to you. Keep those levels of fear up. It's not working on me. I suspect it's not working on you either.